Let's get more now on this wage stoush between Patrick Stevedore and the Maritime Union. The Prime Minister has demanded an end to the standoff, accusing the union of extortion. Let's bring in Paul McAleer, the Sydney Branch Secretary for the Maritime Union of Australia. Paul, thanks very much for your time. What do you say to that claim from the Prime Minister that you're attempting extortion against the Stevedore?
Well, it's complete and utter madness from the Prime Minister to assert that we're somehow extorting the company or holding the country to ransom. We've got very normal industrial action taking place right now. We're seeing absolutely hysterical commentary in a deliberate manipulation and a manufacturing of something that just doesn't exist at all.
So you're saying, in terms of the number of ships, Patrick says there are some 40 ships around the nation, not just all off in one port, but around the country, either waiting or approaching the nation, that have been delayed. You dispute that figure?
Absolutely. They've released a press statement this afternoon and incorporated a map of the world where most of those vessels are right now. And you will see that many of them are off the coast of China, Japan, Malaysia, Southeast Asia, Indonesia. I mean, these vessels haven't come to Australia in the last couple of weeks. There is no way in the world that we've been able to force stevedoring companies all around the world to somehow involve themselves in this global conspiracy to stop Patrick's from operating these vessels. It's complete madness. I've never seen such a hysterical reaction to something that is entirely normal going on in part of the Australian industrial relations framework. It's crazy. It's actually crazy.
Okay, let's respond to some of the other claims that have been floating around. Has at any point the workers, the wharfies involved, not made available medical supplies or not removed medical supplies where needed from ships?
Absolutely not. We're members of the community. Our partners, our families rely on medication, medical supplies, medical equipment. We've had a historical exemption against all medical supplies, even well before COVID. This has been a position of the MUA for decades. We don't touch it. If there is any medical supplies on board any of those vessels, if there's any equipment, medicines, if there's any agricultural, fresh produce, all Patrick's need to do is outline which boxes they are, and we'll exempt them entirely from any industrial action. We've repeatedly told Patrick's that those goods and services are exempted from any industrial action. We've done that formally. We've done it face-to-face. We've had our delegates inside the workplace over the last 2 days because of the commentary that they're listening to and with their families. They're going to their bosses and saying, which boxes are they in? And their bosses haven't been able to answer it because it's completely fabricated. There's no stoppage of any medicine. There's no stoppage of any agricultural products. And to suggest otherwise is either through direct manipulation by Patrick's. Remember, this is a company that's only had industrial action placed upon it for 3 weeks. It's only overtime bans and extension bans, which are additional hours, and it's upgrade bans. They're the 3 basic bans that we've got in place at the moment. And as I said, that comes with exemptions around medical supplies, medication, medical equipment, and fresh produce. So,
but it's having a big impact. Patrick says it's
not having the impact that they're telling you it is.
It's saying it's 50% of their cargo is being affected. Is that right?
No, it's absolutely not. I can guarantee you what's basically happening is this. Patrick's relies on a fair amount of overtime to be worked because they haven't got the right numbers in the terminal. This is a company that a number of years ago automated the terminal. They went from around 300 boxes per shift down to 175 to 200. Through automation, it's had a massive productivity impact that they're still unable to catch up on. Manual operations demonstrated around the world to be far more productive. They made the mistake of cutting half of their workforce. They've put half of those workers back on. Automation is a failure. Their systems that they've got in place are failing. How is it our responsibility, a vessel that's off the coast of China, How is it our fault that we've made that vessel delayed for 3 weeks?
Okay.
We've been told by the company that there's 4 weeks of delays. It's just...
Paul McAleer, though, do you accept that a claim for a 6% annual increase in pay is a bit rich, given we're in a recession? There's not much...
Yeah, we understand that.
There aren't any wage increases anywhere.
No, there's not, and that's deeply unfortunate for the economy and for working class people around this country. That was a claim that we put on the table before COVID, before the bushfires. It was many, many, many months ago at the start of this year. In May, we recognised the situation that the economy was facing, and even companies in our industry were facing. We recognised that by putting an offer to the company of a 2.5% wage increase for 12 months, a 12-month rollover, so it wasn't locked in for 4 years, but a 12-month rollover of all of the existing conditions of employment and the deeds and other agreements that we've got in place for 2.5%. Patrick's rejected that in May. They've repeatedly rejected it. This is not our problem. It's being made our problem by the hysterical ravings and rantings of politicians, including the Prime Minister, as well as a stevedoring company that's a notoriously anti-worker, anti-union company who will do whatever it takes. Patrick's have to go to the Fair Work Commission and basically say this, that in order for us to have our actions suspended or terminated, they need to demonstrate that there's been a significant hit to the economy by our actions. And if anyone is suggesting that overtime bans, shift extension bans and the bans on upgrades is affecting this economy in such a significant way, then the whole situation is completely upside down. If the government want to do something about this...
When's it back before the Commission? When's it back before the Fair Work Commission?
It's before the Commission tomorrow. We're basically going to be given 24 hours notice to respond to what we would view as to be about 500 to 700 pages of evidence. Now, the industrial relations system in this country already makes it incredibly difficult for unions to take lawfully protected action. If the benchmark in this country is for the ministers to get involved around overtime bans, then we are facing some of the greatest obstacles to workers getting a fair and just outcome that you can imagine. This is a story that has been fabricated, manipulated and managed out of the Prime Minister's office, and he should be ashamed and disgraced for the commentary that he's made against hard-working Australians and Patrick's, his mates in big business, who are making all of these suggestions. $170,000 a year, I'll tell you what, I'll say to Patrick's right now, you put on paper that our wages will be $170,000 a year and you've got an agreement tonight.
Paul McAleer from the Maritime Union of Australia, thanks for that. We'll talk to you again at some point, and as we know, it's before the Fair Work Commission, as Paul said there, tomorrow and the following day with their response. Now,